to learn today: how to gist. There are a couple of things that we need to make sure that we know how to do when we're gisting. The very first thing is to preview the text. And we do this by looking at italics, the title, and the illustrations. Now, in this particular passage, there are no italics, so we're going to leave that one for today. And when we see those italics, then we're going to make sure that we point them out and we understand exactly what they are. So today, we're really going to focus on the title and the illustrations that may help us to better understand the story. To begin, we need to circle the title and think, does this title give me any clues as to what I am going to be reading about? Next, we need to circle the pictures and write a caption that explains what you see in the image. If you see something going on in a picture or an illustration, sometimes it's a lot easier for you to write out what you're seeing. That way you can see how it connects to the text or the story that you're reading. As you read, you must always remember to stop and gist. We must ask ourselves, what did I just read? What information is important to the story? That important information we need to make sure that we highlight. And it doesn't mean that we highlight everything, only the details and the information that is important, which we're going to go over today. Remember, you do not need to write a complete sentence. It is only a couple of words that highlight the most important information that you have read. Now, it may seem like a lot, but we're going to actually do it together. That way you can have a better understanding of what it looks like. Now we are going to practice. So this is my story here. I'm going to show you how to do a couple of things that I feel may be a little bit difficult the first time that you're learning to drag and drop things. So I'm going to remove this circle here, and I'm going to show you how I actually put the circles around the illustrations, the characters, and the title. Okay? So what I did was I identified that there was an illustration or two, and there is a title. So the title is The Ant and the Grasshopper. The information in the title makes me think that maybe the characters in the story are an ant and a grasshopper. So I'm going to circle my title. And to do that, I need to click on the actual circle that I want to move. So when I put my mouse over the circle, I see almost like a little cross. I'm going to click on that and not let go and move it to where I want it to go. Once I found the spot that I want to place it, I release it and it will stay there. So now I'm going to try it again. Now I want to circle the illustrations. The illustrations show me that there's an ant and there's a grasshopper. So I still think that my main characters are probably going to be an ant and a grasshopper. So I scroll over the purple circle. I click down. I don't let go. And I move the circle to where I want it to go. I'll try it one more time. I click on the circle. Don't let go. And move the circle where you want it to go. And then let go. Okay? We're going to be practicing these types of things almost every day in your lessons, so you'll get better at it over time. Okay? Now you'll notice that I have ant and grasshopper circled here. I'm going to read and then explain why I actually had done that. Okay. Once there lived an ant and a grasshopper in a grassy meadow. Now, Mr. Rosa actually dragged and dropped the circles. and I put two little men underneath the ant and the grasshopper. I do this every time I'm introduced to a main character, or in this case, two main characters. I clicked on my circle and I dragged it over and to circle a character. Did the same thing, click, don't let go, drag, and then let go. This makes it easy for me to identify who my main characters are. And as I'm reading, I want to make sure that I'm thinking about what they're doing, saying, thinking, and feeling. Now, to highlight the most important information, we use these little bars over here. And when you click on one and move it, that's what we're going to use as our highlighter, since we can't use markers on the computer. So I'm going to continue to read, and I'm going to model picking out some of the important information. One summer day, the grasshopper was sitting and singing to his heart's content. Then the ant crawled by, carrying a heavy grain of corn in his mouth. All day long, the ant would work, collecting grains of wheat and corn from the farmer's field far away. Now, I'm going to highlight very specific details that I think tell me a little bit more about each of my characters. So I can see from reading this that the grasshopper is sitting. That kind of shows me a little bit about the grasshopper. I also notice that my ant was working all day long. So I'm going to highlight that the ant would work collecting grains, because this kind of shows me a little bit about the ant and the ant's personality. Also notice that there's these brackets here. These brackets are going to help to guide me of when I need to stop and gist. So because I reached the end of this paragraph and I see that my bar ends here, I need to now stop and think to myself, what did I just read? What did I just learn? So something that I learned was that ant and grasshopper are my two main characters. And I learned that grasshopper was sitting and the ant was working hard. But I don't want to write a really long sentence. So in this pink box, I'm going to click. And I'm going to click again until I see a black line appear. When I see that line, that's when I can begin to type. So I'm going to say, ant working hard, and grasshopper sitting. Again, these are not complete sentences. They're short little words that remind me of what I just read. Now notice, I didn't highlight everything in the paragraph. I only highlighted what I felt was very important to know about the characters and where they were or what was going on with them. And I felt that this really gave me information about each of them. Now I'm going to continue to read. Why not come and chat with me, said the grasshopper, instead of working all the time. I am helping to collect food for the winter, said the ant, and recommend you to do the same. Why bother about winter, said the grasshopper. We've got plenty of food right now. I'm going to stop there because I see that that is the end of where my bar is, which means now it's time to gist. But before I gist, I want to make sure that I'm identifying that important information and making sure that I'm highlighting those pieces, because that's going to help me with my gisting. So I see that grasshopper is saying to ant, not really to work. So I'm going to make sure that I want to highlight that. So grasshopper is saying, chat with me instead of working all the time. So grasshopper instead of working, and I want to make sure that I get my chat with me as well, because that way I know what I'm talking about. Now next, I want to see how ant responds. I am helping to collect food. Okay, but I think it's really important that he recommends grasshopper to do the same. So that's something that I'm going to highlight, as well as exactly what he's recommending him to do. And that is to help collect food. Why bother about winter, said Grasshopper. We've got plenty of food right now. I'm gonna highlight plenty of food right now because I feel like that's something that the grasshopper's maybe not thinking fully about that the ant is. Okay, now that I highlighted some of the important information, I need to gist. And remember, when I gist, it's not a complete sentence. It's a couple of words that make sure that I know what's going on in that section, as well as that I truly understand the important information. So I'm going to click until I see that black line, and I'm going to write, ant recommends grasshopper collect food. Gotta make sure I spell that right. There we go. Grasshopper doesn't think he needs to. Okay. Now I just put periods there just to make sure that I can separate my thought, but you can always just press the enter or return key to separate them that way if that's easier for you to do, okay? So I'm seeing a pattern here. I'm seeing, just like I saw in the first part, that those same personalities or traits of ant and grasshopper are almost being repeated, okay? So now I'm gonna go to the next part of my passage. But now I want you to just the rest of the story. And I really want you to think about what is important that you're reading. I am going to have some of the highlighting tools already there for you to make it a little bit easier for you to drag and drop the highlighter. So you may see the highlighting tool there, okay? If it's not, that's okay. Don't worry about it. And from what I want you to do then is just gist. Think about what is the important information. Click until you see the black line and then type what you feel is most important in the actual story. I want you to finish the rest of this passage. Now we know what happens in the end, so it should be a little bit easier for you to even understand what's going on in this story. So I really want you to practice pulling out that important information and asking yourself that question, what did I just read? Okay? At the end of it, you'll see that there's this book review. The book review is just for you to get a little bit more practice on dragging and dropping. So I want you to see if you can kind of maneuver some of these tools, like the stars here, the circle here, and these little tools here that you drag and drop for the author's purpose. When it says type here, you just click in it and you type, okay? You're just going to do a book review on the story today that we read together, which was The Ant and the Grasshopper, okay? Good luck, and I know that you're gonna do a fantastic job.